Hello, seventh graders. You like my little son? I hopefully it showed up the right way this time because I've tried this video 3 times and it keeps showing up backwards. And this is my third take. So here we are. It's, I believe, Wednesday. Kind of losing track of days. It's a beautiful day out back here. The sun is shining. I hope you're having a great day. As you saw on the sign, my technological advancement to my lectures is today's lecture is on the return to China rule. Return to Chinese rule after the rule of the Mongols. This is the creation of the Ming Dynasty. And when we look at the creation of the Ming Dynasty, we have to look towards the one emperor who took control of that whole thing. And that was Zhu Yuanzhang. Zhu Yuanzhang kind of was a little ruthless and mean, and like all emperors are usually, but he was also very kind to the peasants and utilized the peasants in order to bring back Chinese rule in the southern area. Now, one of the things about Juan is he changed his name. Juan Chang changed his name to Hongwu. Hongwu rebuilt China, okay? And when he rebuilt China, he used an autocratic rule, which, many leaders and emperors are autocratic. And before we can go any further, we have to have an understanding of what autocracy is. Well, what is autocracy? Well, autocracy is one ruler, full control, all the power in the world. You can also call this an authoritarian rule, but back then they called it autocracy, so they're the same. A couple of the things with autocratic rule was the fact that Hongwu never really had to take suggestions from anybody because he was a ruler. He also had all the power, he had all the control, he was the leader, so there were no questions asked upon him. There was a one-way communication. Okay, so this, as we're doing, is two-way communication. Well, it's technically one-way communication, but you can respond by leaving a message. But one-way communication where his word was golden. If you also look at the fact that he had all the responsibility, and having all the responsibility in life is not always something that you really want. It adds to stress. So all the responsibility. Now, there are a couple benefits to autocratic rule, and that's the fact that decisions were made quickly because he made the decisions. And the fact that when he made a decision, they were usually focused. So it didn't have to go through a Congress or Senate or a House like a democracy. It didn't have to be voted on 3 times and then had to be turned back to the House. If you look at the stimulus package it just passed, that went through 3 or 4 different, um, levels of communication before it was finally passed. Well, with Hongwu, he wouldn't have had to go to Congress. He could have said, I'm giving everybody money, and he did. Okay, so autocracy, one ruler, his decisions, his determinations, focused, and that's it. Now, he also built up China rule again in the Ming Dynasty through Confucianism. Now, as we know, Confucius was a philosopher, um, and he was one who believed in kindness. And I guess if you had one ethic that Confucius lived by and hoped everybody would live by, it was the fact that respect and do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. So if we live by that, which is basically a good way to live, then you are following Confucianism and also probably Catholicism, because you should treat everybody equally and well. So there's some of the things about Confucianism was that he believed in personal and governmental morality. So being moral. Now, if you look at our government today, do you think they're very moral? You know, the fights between the two branches, between the House and the Senate, there's not a lot of morality going on there. And you know, with the ads and everything in our last election for who's going to be the nomination for the Democrats, well, morality did not play a big part of that, nor does it in the Republican Party either. So, but under Confucian law, morality was big for both personal and governmental life. He believed in social relationships that were built on kindness, productivity, justice, and sincerity. And through this, he believed that the world would be a better place. Um, this was a return from many different types of religions. And if you looked at Taoism, well, they based their religion on Confucianism as well. Now, one of the big things that I liked about Confucianism was that you needed to respect your elders if you're a young person. That's you. I'm an elder. Not that old, but eld. Would that be an eld or an elder? I'm not quite sure. But anyway, let's talk about Hongwu and what he did to build up the Chinese rule under the Ming Dynasty. The first thing he did was the autocratic rule. The second thing he did was looked at the peasants as a necessity, and he also believed that the peasants should have a good life. Not that they were, you know, sitting in the backyard on a lounge chair sipping on iced tea, but that they could live their life in a rather productive and happy, kind way. So he believed also the first steps to creating a great empire was to create a great agricultural empire. So he was able to go out and create this agrarian economy built on growing and irrigation and transportation of goods and vegetables, and got all of his territory regions building up this agriculture, and at the same time building manufacturing. Okay, because he realized that through manufacturing he was able to, I guess, work together with agriculture and create a trade that was needed throughout the whole Asian continent. Um, he looked at the second thing was to have fair taxes amongst all people. Obviously, we don't have fair taxes here in America because the rich don't pay much taxes, the middlemen pay a lot, and so do the lower class. But he cut government spending, which, if you look at our stimulus package here in America, well, we just gave everybody $2 trillion. But that was needed during this crisis. So when you look at Hongwu, fair taxes, cut government spending, and he based a lot of his theories of the Ming Dynasty off of the Tang and the Song dynasties. Um, one of the big things he did was he utilized and strengthened the civil service exam. Now, when you think about civil service, you say, okay, what is civil service? Well, civil service are your government officials, your post office here in America. You know, anybody who does governmental work is a civil service. So, in order to strengthen that, he made the exams more difficult so that only the best who could pass those tests at the highest rate would become government officials. This allowed for the best people to be running the government. Okay, once Hongwu passed away and gave his empire to his son, who was Yang Lo. Yang Lo was much like his father in the fact that he was ruthless and he was devastating, and he was also autocratic. But he also believed in keeping the peasants as a big part of his world, and the reason being is because he decided to take his palace, the imperial palace, and move it to, that's correct, Beijing. He moved it to Beijing, which became the center of China. And when he built that palace, it took over 15 years to create the whole palace. He did it in a grid formation. And if you ever in an airplane in America flying over, you notice how America is kind of built in a grid as well. Each state has grids or blocks of land, as you can see. So when the imperial palace was done, it was called the Forbidden City because nobody could get in. So the Yang Lo also believed in expeditions. So he started sending people out to venture and look upon the world and see what goods and findings that they could bring back to China. And so Yang Lo was the one responsible for sending Chinese out to actually venture in the worlds. Now, the Imperial Palace, like I said, was created in 15 years. It had over 500 years of power, and at the same time had 100,000 servants for the people of the Forbidden City. So through the both Hongwu and Yang Lo, the Ming Dynasty was created and lived on for many, many, many years. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's our little lecture for today. I hope you enjoyed it. It's good seeing you. Stay healthy. Make sure you drop in tomorrow, Mondays and Thursdays, between 9:30 and 10:30, for any questions or comments that you want to talk about. That will be my office hours. I know you got all kinds of Zooms going on, but you can always drop in for a minute or two, ask a question, and head back out. So, God bless you all. I hope all your families are safe. And remember to exercise, keep your head straight, and I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully. God bless you.